most iconic bands of all time. The British invasion took over America back in the 60s, and now fans have the chance to relive their powerful music with a tribute. Lewis Harrison, George Harrison's sister, and James Arizmendi with Ticket Zone are here to explain all about it, and we're so honored to have George Harrison's sister with us this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Well, like I said, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy. I know. Tell us a little bit more. Obviously, growing up, the Beatles, I'm sure, were a big, iconic, this band that we look up to now. Tell us how it was living with your brother and growing up with him.
Well, I didn't grow up. I grew up ahead of him. I was 11 when he was born. So when I first met him, he was only 8 hours old.
Oh.
And he wasn't famous, and he didn't even have any teeth. But I loved him anyway.
And so, how was that time, if you looking back, back to the 60s?
Well, I was, already grown up and married, and I'd lived in Canada and South America before coming to the United States in 1963. And I was starting to get the singles. My mum was sending me their singles as they were coming out. George had been writing to me, from the time he was in Hamburg, letting me know, how they were going and everything. And so I knew that they were starting to get to the point where they were looking forward to coming into the United States, if possible. Mm-hmm. So I started going around all the radio stations with the singles and saying, hey, this is my kid brother's band, and they're #1 in England, and you should be playing them on the radio here. Anyway, I wasn't getting too much response. In fact, I was being looked at back there in those days as though, who let you out of the kitchen, young lady? That kind of attitude from the men in the business. So I started researching with Cashbox and Billboard and the Variety magazine, and was writing to their manager, Brian Epstein, and also to their publisher and their arranger, George Martin, in England, and explaining how things were over here, because it was very, very different. In Britain, if you get played on the BBC, that's all you need. It's just the one entity there, So, of course, in this country, back then, there were about 6,000 independent radio stations. There's a lot more than that now.
Right.
So, in order to get national coverage, it was a very, very, very hard task. So I was writing and explaining to Brian all of the things that you needed to do to get into this country. And anyway, around about September, my brother came over to visit me, so he actually got a chance to become the very first Beatle to set foot on this country. And he also accidentally ended up singing a few songs with a local band there and became the first Beatle to perform live in this country back in '63.
Absolutely. Speaking of performances, I just want to showcase this picture because it's so pivotal in our history. The Ed Sullivan Show is really when they made their mark here in the United States.
Right,
and you have a photo of your brother
and me
and yourself together. Can you tell us exactly what his emotions were that day or the day before the actual performance?
Well, actually, his emotions were more submerged by the fact that he had a 104-degree temperature and a really, really bad strep throat. In fact, if you look at his eyes in those pictures,
he looks a little, he was doing something else.
He was very, very ill, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got roped in to look after him and, give him all the medications and everything to try to get him on his feet. When the doctor from the hotel, was Dr. Gordon at the Plaza Hotel, when he examined him, he said, I've got to get this young man into hospital. He's really, really ill. And Brian Epstein almost had a heart attack. He said, no, we can't let anybody know there's anything wrong with anybody. So when they realized that I was there and I was his sister, they said, oh, well, she's probably the only woman in New York that wouldn't faint if she was in the same room as him.
Very true. I would agree with that. But you're really paying tribute to your brother with this Liverpool Legends.
Yes.
So tell us exactly when this is taking place and where people can purchase tickets.
Okay, well, you know that information.
We have a show on Friday, May 16th at the Edinburgh Conference Center. And then on May 18th, it's in Brownsville. That's a Sunday. And you can purchase tickets at topboxtickets.com or go to 631-1411, our phone number, 631-1411. Yeah. And that's our Ticket Zone number.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And one of the things I would add to that, too, is that when we do play out of town, touring around the country, inevitably the tickets are sold out. And we have people getting to the show at the night of the show, going to buy their tickets at the box office, and they say, I'm sorry, but there's, you know, once the first time that happened, the theater said, well, okay, we'll put some seats down the side, you know, some extra seats down. There were about 40 extra people that had come, and the fire department said, oh no, you won't.
Oh yeah,
you're to capacity. So ever since then, I've told people, you know, if you want to come, be sure and get your tickets ahead of time, because otherwise you might get shut out. And I was so upset looking at these people's faces. You know, they were all agog to come into the show, and then they were told no.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And you have to get those tickets ASAP. So we're going to have more information for you folks at home watching. If you'd like to go to the concert, you can head to valleycentral.com after the show. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Truly appreciate your time. Let's send it over to Victoria.